Path of Night is an actual play Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the world of darkness. We're all friends, we're here to have fun, but our story can include graphic violence, drug use, sexual content, and other mature themes. Content warnings can be found in the show notes. We talk at our table about safety, comfort, and consent both as players and storytellers. We know what to expect, we're all excited to be here, and we want you to feel the same, so listener discretion is advised. Now, let's walk the Path of Night.
Last time on Path of Night, Britta, Wynn, and Neil waited together for the result of the War Council, sharing their deeper feelings with one another. Meanwhile, Johnny and Miles navigated a tense meeting with Hardestad and other top names within the Camarilla. The council was interrupted by the arrival of the Coterie's allies, who lied that the war with the Sabbat had already begun. The Coterie managed to escape Hartford, heading back to New Haven to prepare for war. The drive back towards New Haven is a quiet, somber one. After the initial excitement of being reunited with your allies passes, it starts to become increasingly clear that every choice you couldn't make up until this point, every opportunity that wasn't seized, may cost you people you care about. And no matter what great things you accomplish in the coming nights, you will lose people. Maybe each other. Johnny, as you drive towards New Haven, you pass by this old mobile gas station that's long out of use. But in the parking lot, you see the unmistakable image of 3 city SWAT vans from different districts, different towns, waiting. And every now and then, you see other small signs of the coming crusade. Birds that circle in the air, displaying unusual flight patterns. Cold chills from areas where the shroud between the living and the dead has grown terribly thin. Even as you arrive to New Haven, you start to become aware of things you couldn't have considered beforehand. It's this thrumming in the back of your mind. You can feel this keen awareness of your thoughts, of your secrets, your dreams, everything that makes you you, and something scratches at the surface of it, intent on subjugation. Even the people that you are traveling with look between each other, look to you. They can feel this growing awareness that spans the Northeast. You can feel an ancient hunger that is not yours, something that dwarfs the very concept of the beast. Slowly, the truck pulls up to its stop right by the access point to New Haven. And Johnny has an opportunity to park, and the group of you have an opportunity to collect your thoughts and decide how to move forward.
So where do we start?
Do we know where the attack is coming from yet?
I don't think there is an attack. Not yet, anyways. Am I wrong?
Weather shakes his head. No, you're not wrong. We, fibbed. A little ploy to get you pulled out of the area so you can be where you need to be when things start really going down.
Wynn gives a nod of appreciation.
Well, that gives us an extra 24 hours.
Thank you.
When it does come, it's probably coming up the I-95 corridor and up the MTA from New York, right? And then also from the north.
Also probably from some of the suburbs as well.
Yeah.
And based on what we know before, possibly from the sea.
Considering how many shovelheads you saw, they're using a fucking big old hammer to smash this city.
Yeah.
Jane looks like she's seen a ghost. She heads to the back, collects this backpack. As she unzips it, you can see she's got a gun and a camera in there among some other notebooks and what have you. And she retrieves a camera and, hesitant and intimidated, she approaches this spot where the weeds have grown out of a crack in the pavement. And she crouches down over the crack and takes a picture. The group of you see it, some recognizing what you're looking at more quickly than others. But you see this orangey, fleshy, spongy tissue.
Fucking hell.
It's spreading out from Yale, isn't it?
Or Ogden Street.
There's some weird shit going on, Jane says. We've been having this, you've heard stories about the dead kind of getting up and walking around and becoming violent. And I don't mean us, I mean...
Getting knocked back into their bodies.
Wynn
Like
told us
zombies
about it.
in a movie.
It's been happening a lot. And she looks like she might be a little ashamed. I've been having these dreams. Something surrounded by bones and skulls and blood. I don't dream. I haven't dreamed in a very long time, so I don't know exactly what it means, but I feel like it's bad.
Sorry to ask, but these bones, skulls, are they twisted? Strange?
They're strange in that they have fangs. Once finished taking the pictures, she tucks the camera back into her backpack and returns to the truck to stand a little closer to her allies.
Jane, how many places have you seen this in the city?
Under a dozen?
Under a dozen?
Yeah.
Is there any kind of pattern to it, or is it kind of random?
If there's a pattern, I don't see it.
Okay. Wynn looks to Neil and kind of gives a shrug, like, maybe?
He shrugs, not having, like, he hasn't seen anything yet. And this is just one little instance. So from here, he can't even really look necessarily. When Jane mentions having dreams and looking a little ashamed, Neil doesn't even, like, choose to not look judgmental. He looks immediately supportive of, like, yeah, no, that tracks. That's my experience too. And when Britta asks about the skulls, he goes, well, we know from Young Peterson's reports that there are ancient kindred, the Harbingers of Skulls, who are working with Duxalina and others coming from the north by way of, like, Vermont, I think. I can't remember. Maine?
Maine.
Yeah.
Either way, north.
And they are necromancers who have beef with Giovanni. We know that much, so...
Would they collect maybe kindred skulls, I thought?
That I have no idea. Their faces look like skulls. Like they have literal skull faces in a lot of ways. That's why but they control the dead. They do the same. So it's...
Call me paranoid at this point. I mean, just let's get out the Reynolds wrap at this point and make some hats. But do we really want to be having this conversation in an area with this fungus growing?
I think if we're seeing fungus here, even on this off-ramp of the highway, it's everywhere.
Well, we could be in a car. Or a house.
It's not... If it's here and growing through the cracks, it means most likely it's spreading through the Warrens. And without most of the Nosferatu around, you know.
And what that tells me is that first thing you've got to do, Neil, see if you can contact Fester. Because he's alive, apparently.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Get a disposition on what the Warrens are looking like right now. 2, I need you to conduct a ritual for Miles and Britta.
Now that we're away from Pendragons, if you can get the bowl to your haven, Miles, I can do it there, so we're at least a little protected.
I've already rerouted it. We'll pick it up.
Okay.
Are you guys sure? I mean, what if that doesn't work? We have so much else that we have to plan.
It might not work.
It's not that I don't have
This
faith in
is
you,
not
Neil. It's
a-
just...
No, it's not.
This is not me asking, this is me telling. I trust Neil and what he's capable of, and you need it. Britta, you have been putting up with a lot of shit this whole time in Hartford. And I'm impressed at how much you've been able to take care of. But being that I've known you and Miles this long, I can see how frayed the two of you are.
We need to try to be at least in top shape.
This is an investment of time we need to make, and if the payoff is nothing, it's fine.
And Neil can do this.
Also
okay.
that.
Thank you. But in the meantime, while Neil's getting ready, Miles, are we able to maybe pull more people together?
We're going to start putting out dispositions of forces, reinforcing them with ammunition, weapons, whatever they might need, some fallback points. We've been looking at New Haven for a while, and we have a good number of spots to get people situated. We'll be making calls, defending the central location. We are going to try to make the Sabbat more manageable.
Neil looks between Johnny and Miles. I don't suppose anything helpful came out of that war council. He makes air quotes with his fingers.
Yes, it looks like they'll be giving as much of the area's police forces for us to use. The Camarilla forces will be helping us out on 95.
Are you guys okay? They didn't make you do anything, or?
Oh, hold on. He takes the White Cross pin from himself. Hey, Neil, can you take a look at this? Tell me if there's anything magical about it.
I don't have... I mean, I can try. I'm not a Tremere, but I can...
Take a quick look. If not, hand it to Johnny. Johnny is then going to throw it as far away from us as possible.
What are you worried about it?
Madame Guy put some sort of pin that disappeared into it and around it, and I don't know enough things right now to trust it.
Oh, Neil, I had some magic questions for you too, but I think they're maybe not a public thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, at least I can... Lex, I use senses and stuff to... This pin that he's talking about, is it just his regular White Cross pin, or is there anything else there to it?
What are you using?
At first, I'm just going to use my regular senses to see if there's like a secondary thing, or if it's just the thing he walked in there with.
Regular senses don't seem to detect anything at all.
Okay. All right, well, if this goes bad, shake me out of it. And I will, I think for the first time this campaign, maybe use Spirit's Touch.
Go ahead and roll.
Does my spec in either emotions or intuitive count for this one?
Emotions.
That is 9 successes.
With the maximum successes, you gain a wealth of information, nearly anything you want to know about the person's relationship with that object. The last person to touch this object was Miles, and has been for quite some time. Whatever she did was likely an illusion. Now that we're here, Tim,
Yeah,
with no ability to conceal how you actually feel,
sure.
and no ability to remain stoic in this situation since he has bypassed all of that by holding the item in his hand. What is your emotional attachment to this object in this time?
As not one of the first pins that he's received, it does bear emotional weight for one of the few that is taking the Camarilla's fight to the Sabbat, for killing those that have threatened the city that he lives in, and carrying the weight of the duty that he bears. But at the same time, it does not hold enough significance for him to not remove it to keep everyone else safe.
Neil, that is the information that you get from the pin.
He holds it for a moment, kind of twirling it over his knuckles, and then hands it back to Miles. It's, I can't see anything on it. to my best guess, whatever Madame Guy did was an illusion. It wasn't real. Or at least not something that I can see or interact with.
Do you think maybe I could try and fiddle with it? Sometimes I'm good at unlocking things.
What do you mean?
I don't know if there's something, like, in it. I don't know if it's something that I could undo.
I mean, if you can, it's fine if Miles wants to play with it, but there's, as far as I can tell, there's nothing inside of it. There was nothing put in there other than, I guess, kind of what Miles put into it.
I mean, if you want to look at it, but I'm going to continue moving on.
If you'll hand it to me.
He gives it to Britta.
Britta heightens her sense of vision and starts looking for, like, any hint of a separate piece or a moving part or something.
You don't find anything unusual?
Heightening my hearing instead. There's no rattling noise, nothing like that.
No.
Yeah, it's just the pin.
I guess I figured it's just sometimes Britta pulls her vision back to the usual, and she pulls her hearing back to normal. And she hands the pin back to Miles, and she looks to Neil and says, "It's been a while since I didn't know I knew something, so I thought maybe."
Yeah, I mean, it's a second pair of eyes is always good, but I looked inside and out, and I couldn't find anything. It's just your pin, Miles, as far as I can see.
Sounds good.
If we had a Tremere around,
Johnny's giving a wary look at Miles. When we were in that meeting, that fireplace, that skull.
His dignitas.
Skull?
Jan,
Yes.
Oh.
are you okay?
Probably not. But it's not the time or place for that.
Miles, I'm sorry.
it will be.
Great. No need to be sorry. Not your direct fault.
Not your fault at all.
If she's blaming herself, I can't really stop it. But I'm going to keep saying that. He's given us some information that I'm going to need people to look through.
Okay.
I'm not sure where it is. I'm going to have to assume it's somewhere nearby-ish, but I don't know.
We grabbed our stuff on the way out. It's in the car.
No, he's hidden it away. The key.
Oh, so we have to find it.
Yeah, I have this key that goes somewhere.
Ooh.
Oh, that one.
That
Yes.
one, yeah. Jan's key, to be specific. That does change a lot of...
Probably a drop box or a P.O. box, something. Maybe a bank vault, like a banker's box.
Bus
Maybe-
station, train station.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
We can look. I have a thing with keys.
So,
Neil, are your keys labeled? Do you think you could match that up to somewhere?
Well, they're labeled to me, but probably.
we should be able to figure it out. He wouldn't have given me something that I wouldn't be able to track down.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Well, first things first, I want you all in that ritual. I want you to clear your heads, and then you can go down this key rabbit hole there.
Well, maybe while they're doing that, you and I can...
I'm going to want at least one of you or somebody watching over us because we're going to be out of our minds and bodies when we're doing it.
Gotcha.
Just in case, for safety.
But we need to get... While we're getting ready and getting that, we need to get the city mobilized.
Yeah.
I think Wynn and I can probably start spearheading that. Between the Seneschal and Sheriff, if we can't do it...
We should probably be fired.
You know what, actually, now that I think about it, you might want to fire us.
Mm-hmm. And if not, we'll give you reason.
We can have this discussion later, like a couple days from now.
Looks like we're fucking on the job.
Damn it.
I appreciate the enthusiasm, as always,
Very enthusiastic.
but I think it's time for us to get moving and get ready for the Sabbat that are coming.
Neil, are you basically ready for this? If the bowl is there?
If the bull is there, I have some Caliph left in the Haven, and we can go from there. And that'll... I need to talk to the both of you about what to expect, because you can get lost along the way if I can even bring you. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants on this, but yes, I'm ready to go whenever we need to. We just need a few hours of night.
Okay. Then let's make all the preparations that we need for that, and if we can squeeze anything in the meantime, maybe we could call people who might be fighting in the city.
There's some calls to make and preparations to, people to talk to.
Yeah.
Meetings to...
Weathers, who have you got recruited working so far?
Well, do you want the good news or the bad news?
First one, then the other, man.
Bad news first.
A good chunk of the princes that came to this city to hide from the Sabbat have fled.
Where to?
Further north.
You sure that's not good news?
Well, it means that we have a lot less manpower than initially anticipated.
Probably in Boston.
So what is the good news?
Well, shit, I don't know if we have any.
Make up something.
You got us here?
Yeah, there you go. Enjoy that some more. Well, a good chunk of the Brujahs stayed. There are some anarchs. The followers of Set seem to have pulled resources away from New Haven, so at least they're not directly getting involved.
I'll take that as a win.
Are the children of Hakim still in the city?
They're still here. They're a gangrel too, so it's not completely hopeless, but...
Isn't it weird that the two groups that were shit on the most by the cam are the two that are stepping up to defend it?
I think that's just called history.
Right?
They're not here to defend the Camarilla per se. They're here to defend their homes, the friends and bonds they've developed.
Well, they're outnumbered. I don't mean to make it sound like it's already over, but you need to start thinking about how you're going to get people out of this city once things hit a point of no return.
We can be smart about this if we try and get the right people to the right place.
Let's talk escape strategies when we're not standing out in the open anywhere. Again, I'll buy the Reynolds wrap myself, but I don't want to talk about this in the open when there's city gangrel around.
All right, then do you want to go to the Haven or somewhere else?
Where have you guys been using, Weathers?
Same locations that the sheriff's office has used through the years. But if I'm going to be honest, if the cold wounds are here, there's really nowhere safe to talk.
Is Vital still in the city?
He is still at large.
Okay. It's another thing we can look into. I have some thoughts about some of that, but one step at a time, I guess.
Our major push is to control the transportation hubs as best as we can, which will also give us the best chance of getting out of here if things go sideways.
Let's try and figure out who we have. Make a list, start assigning where they can be based on what we can expect. And I know that we won't know where the spot's really coming in and how they're going to come in. But if we can try and assess what strengths we have, who can lead them, then we can get started.
I think the truth of the matter is there's going to be a lot of New Haven we're going to have to just cede. We're just going to have to give it over.
I think you're
The
probably
most
right.
important thing is we got to survive the initial shock of this invasion.
Guys, do we have a full list of our resources yet?
More or less, Neil says, kind of looking around at the truck.
Miles and I have been kind of sketching out what we think we've got, and based on who we've got here and what we have left in the city, I think we have most of it.
And we know it's not enough.
After the Coterie and their allies have driven back into New Haven and gone towards, the Coterie has at least returned to Miles's Haven before, big talks, and as people start getting their preparations for the coming Sabbat invasion, Neil leads... Tim, is it reasonable that as we were driving back, because I know you had called your ghouls, or were calling your ghouls about procuring some of the stuff for this ritual, would you have, redirected them?
Yeah.
Redirect them to the
anything
Haven?
we needed, yeah.
Okay, great.
I just sent texts. They're on call. They're waiting for me at
So
all times.
after they get back, Neil goes down to the room that Miles had prepared for him and comes back up after maybe a little bit too long with one of those big blue Tupperware buckets brings it out to the backyard, is out there for maybe half an hour before coming back in and going, okay, everybody, can you want to come back to the, could you guys join me outside under the stars? And leave any you can leave your shoe, just anything that you don't want to get dirty could probably stay in the house. Because what we're trying is different, something that hasn't really been done, and I need we'll see how it goes. I'll talk you through it when we get there, but can you guys join me outside, please?
Sure.
Sure.
And outside, Neil has built, you know those like metal fire pits that people have, like the little cheap portable ones? Mm-hmm. He's got one of those in the backyard, and there is a bull staked up nearby, and there are tarps down. So there's not like, unlike last time where he had like a bucket or whatever, like because there's 3 of them, there are tarps down, and he's placed like objects in circles around them that clearly he like pilfered from other members of the Coterie, like took from Miles, took from Britta, probably without them giving permission, that are like arranged around, and then some of his own things are arranged around a circle on another part of the tarp. There is smoke coming out of the fire pit already, and the bull looks woozy. And one of the objects that is set slightly aside from Neil's circle of things is a very sharp curved knife. Johnny, Wynn, I know there's things to do, but if this works, and I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to be out for a while. A normal ascension is hours, almost a whole night. This is...
Johnny puts a hand up.
Yeah.
And kind of has a look on his face of just skepticism, annoyance, and also weirdly acceptance. I don't need to know. Do your thing. You'll be fine. I'll keep an eye out.
Okay. Oh,
but, like I said, I don't need to know. So just keep the details to yourself and Miles and Britta, and I'll be outside. He pops some Morley in his mouth.
Well, I wanted to like...
Neeler actually is a detail. You haven't done this before with us, right?
With others? No. This is a sort of a, I hate to say perversion of, but
it's a deviation from
a deviation
the norm.
Is a good, a deviation of when I ascended the ladder myself.
Okay. So, with this, are your spirits still going to be in your bodies? Or are you going to be empty husks?
For all intents and purposes, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, even if we're in ourselves, our minds are not in ourselves.
Okay.
As far as I know, so ordinarily you're still within yourself, right?
Okay.
Like there is no silver cord. You are not traveling the psychic realm. But because I'm going to try and sort of shepherd others up the ladder, I might be.
Okay.
I wish I had a stronger answer, but everything I'm trying here is, he shrugs and then looks over at Miles and Britta.
Britta has readied herself. She's barefoot and wearing a very, very large, sweatshirt. Something that could get ruined for sure. But she is kind of looking around at the objects that Neil has placed around. And she turns to him and she says, Are these things going to get ruined too?
They're going to get blood on them.
What kind of things has Neil taken?
I was going to leave that up to you guys. It would be things that were around Miles's haven, although for each of you, there's probably 1 or 2 things that you thought you misplaced over the last few months or Miles the last few years maybe, that are just here now.
All your left socks. This motherfucker.
Are they big emotional things, or are they just...
Things that you would probably think that either Neil believes have an emotional connection to you, or are maybe representative of how Neil thinks of you. So, Miles, none of your Dignitas would be here.
Right.
But a tie pin that you may have misplaced at one point would be like a little silver tie pin or some cufflinks or something would be there.
Like whole box of business cards.
Yeah, some old business cards, things like that. Like specifically, yeah, there's a business card from like your mortal life when you were a producer.
Gotcha.
Britta, it would be something along the lines of like it's like a hairbrush that you misplaced. There's a shell casing or like a bullet casing that's there that, you know, there's no way to prove it, but
it matches the guns I used.
It matches the guns you used in the very early nights of your arrival.
Possibly one of the ones that shot Vito.
It's a good guess.
Solid plan.
There's also some like loose black threads that almost just look like hair until you would recognize them as probably just a loose spare thread or two from the night at the gala. Just things that are there. Neil's objects are a random hodgepodge of bullshit. Like, none of them seem to have any connection, but they clearly do to him.
Miles approaches some of his stuff wearing a luxurious black robe with silk black pants. He's also barefoot and kind of toes one of them like, all right.
Neil strips out of his clothes while he's talking, folds them up and puts them off to the side, and puts on that same like gauzy black robe with the hood that at least Britta and Wynn remember from
The first ritual.
the first time when they went out to Wallingford, I think. He goes, okay, so what we're going to do is we're all going to sit crisscross applesauce in the middle of our things here, okay? And when the smoke happens, when it comes to you, and it will, just breathe and breathe deep until the world starts to fade away. I am hoping that I can be there to guide you through this, because I've done this for myself a couple of times before. There are layers to where we're going. The first layer is you have to confront your fears. There's no lying to yourselves or each other. It's the things you are truly, deeply afraid of, even if you've been telling yourself you haven't. This whole thing is designed to strip us all bare, down to the psychic level, the core of who you are. That's who we're going to try and find. You have to overcome your fears. If you can't overcome those fears, we're not going to be able to get to the next part. It's an awful experience. But it's also the easiest part, because after that, it's temptation. So for the longest time, sorcerers would just kind of go to the second layer of this just to have a good time, just stay there for hours because it is pleasure incarnate, and you're not going to want to leave because it's great. It feels good. But we have to get past that part too, to try and find some sort of enlightenment, some sort of missing fracture of your psyches.
Neil?
Yeah.
How did you learn to leave? The pleasure.
Denying myself good feeling has never been something that was that hard for me.
Speaking of which, if you can spend hours in there, I just want you all to remember, sunrise is a little bit after 6. If you are not out of this by 5:30, I do not give a fuck what is happening in your head. I am taking you out of this room and putting you to bed.
Slap the shit out of us and get us awake, get us out of here.
That is the hard out, whether you like it or not.
If you can not disturb us before that.
There will be no disturbances before that. But I'm telling you now, I am not playing around, and at 5:30, you're coming out of this.
That's fine.
Johnny gives one kind of last reproachful look at the whole kind of summoning circle, looks up at the sky, kind of nods over to Neil, and then heads back in towards the haven to go inside.
So, in the psychic realm, which is not 100% where we're going, but we might, because again, I am sort of trying to do two things at once here. If you find yourselves floating in a realm of ideas and thought rather than your dreams and your pleasures and whatnot, you'll be fine. You'll be safe. You can always follow, if we get there, a silver cord that connects your spirit to your body. do not let it get severed. You could be lost forever. I don't think we're going to get there, but I would be remiss if we didn't talk about it now. It's
Sounds like good safety instructions.
yeah. And don't be embarrassed, because I'm going to try and bring us through this together. I don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to see possibly each other's stuff. So.
Oh, extremely vague.
This is kind of a vague prospect, Miles. I don't know.
It sounds like it's gonna be more than personal.
Yeah. Okay, when I make the cut, I need you to drink deep of the bowl, and then we're just gonna breathe. Okay?
Okay.
You guys ready?
Let's do this.
I don't think we're gonna be any more ready.
Before they go, Neil looks up at the stars, looks at each of them, and goes, okay, we're going to recover your will, your psyches, your spirits. So I'm going to try and bolster you as best I can here before we go. -1. Everybody has 5. If you give me a trait of your blood to do this, you each have 5 extra willpower for the purposes of this climb.
I do.
I do also.
Neil, with a hand on like the rope around the bowl, brings it forward, picks up the knife, and makes one acharacteristically swift and sharp cut across its neck, drinks deeply of the incensed blood that is coursing through it, and then before the bowl like collapses, sort of pushes it, guides it towards the two of you to drink as well.
Britta drinks as instructed. How much blood do we recover?
So 4 pints of this blood is 1 blood trait. Even though it's much larger than a human, the blood within its body provides less sustenance to kindred.
So maybe 1 trait then?
Yep.
Okay.
As Britt is finishing up, Miles will move in to do as instructed, drinking deeply of the bowl.
And then it sort of wanders away like a few steps and collapses dead. And Neil looks up at the sky and sort of raises his hands out, getting comfortable in the middle of the circles of items, and looks at the stars. There is no cloud cover right now. If there was earlier tonight, Neil has clearly made it so that the clouds are gone and the stars are bright, and starts chanting and breathing as the smoke from the pit starts to, like, you know when you sit around a campfire and like the smoke kind of always seems to follow wherever the hell you're sitting?
Yep.
The 3 of them are sitting in a circle around the smoke, and it is sort of unnaturally going like an unfelt breeze pushing it to each of them in turn, and it's just making this counterclockwise smoke breathing circle. And that like bitter, sweet smoke of the clear scent of Khalif comes in, and you just take it into your lungs and breathe out, and it happens for a while until presumably, Lex, the world begins to fade for each of them. I hope.
Britta fixes her eyes on Neil, this master of the weather, who is currently directing the sky, the fire, just trying to put her faith entirely into him. Assamite magic isn't as strange to her as others, something deep in her memory, but he's definitely the touchstone of this.
Wynn watches as it begins and watches as they each go under the trances of the smoke, and keeps a weather eye, so to speak, on the world of the spirits and the world of the dead, because she does remember that this magic has a tendency to get the attention of the spirits.
Miles will follow instructions, kind of relax into it, close his eyes, prepare to see where this goes.
I need a willpower roll from everyone who is attempting to climb the ladder of heaven.
What difficulty do you want, Lex?
Your difficulty is 7.
1 success.
1 success.
At first, you're not really sure if this is working. You watch Neil, you watch each other, you stare off into space. Your faces go a little numb. You find your senses becoming less reliable, perhaps actually more reliable. And in time, your minds begin to drift. And eventually, you are less aware of the backyard poor lighting. You can't feel the breeze anymore. And the world, as you know it, becomes this distant, irrelevant thought. And then there is darkness. Not just some mere absence of light, but the very concept of evil and cruelty made manifest around you. And you can feel yourself beginning to move with great speed. And as you ascend, this great darkness gives way to briny, deep, endless water. And in the distance, there is what is at first a very small speck. And as you draw close, this globe begins to come into view. Like the whole universe encapsulated into this sphere. And you can see a beautiful blue sky illuminated by a just sun. Its warmth is every bit as real as the world you left behind, but this does not burn you. It does not strike fear into your heart. You recognize it as the symbol of just that which stands in opposition of Ahriman. And you draw closer still, and half of this globe is dark, earthy caverns. Half of this globe is beautiful blue skies, and somewhere in the middle is where you arrive. And as though what comes next is cobbled from your own memories, you begin to smell the familiar scents of cigarettes, whiskey, cocaine, and synth music. And Miles, you are in an office, a cheap radio playing. You haven't made it big yet, but you remember this being one of the moments where you realized with some certainty that you would. And high, drunk, and in your company is your friend and rival, Marcos. He's sitting on the desk. You're in the chair, kind of sitting back, and the two of you are just chatting over various ideas. You listen to mixtape after mixtape. Just the two of you hanging out with big plans on getting rich, and maybe not necessarily being good friends, but interacting with enough regularity that you're part of one another's worlds.
I remember the night fondly, and not jiving with what everything I was told about our ascent on this ladder, decide to go along with it and just enjoy reliving this particular memory of some of the few good times that I recall prior to being a kindred. Just playing the music, enjoying the banter, getting probably very fucked up, enjoying the night in a way that I don't necessarily do anymore.
Knowing all of the words to Like a Prayer, the two of you sing and enjoy it. Neither of you are very good singers, but it's not really about the way it sounds. It's about
how loud you sing it.
Yep. And there is a knock at the door.
signaling for him to keep seated out, I will go and check who's at the door.
He gives you a high five, pours some more whiskey, and just waits. And you step away from the desk. You cross the room, you open the door, and waiting as though he had an appointment is John Reese. Ah. Miles, how good it is to see you again. Far from your usual workplace.
What are you doing here?
I am here to very predictably kill Marcos.
I see.
You find yourself welcoming him in.
I, attempt to change the script somehow. I feel, based on everything that I've told, that is not possible, but I will somehow try to intercede, maybe between myself.
Of course. Perhaps Neil can't change his fate, but you're not him, are you?
That's correct. Man, this is super weird. I would try to attack this John Reese. I have whatever's at hand, and yeah, I would hit him with it.
Well, you've got this big, thick, heavy, like, whiskey glass in your hand. Why don't you give me a dex plus melee, and you may add automatic successes equal to your permanent willpower.
Am I celerity adding into this?
If you'd like.
I think the answer we're looking for is fuck yeah.
Cocaine!
Difficulty?
3.
11, 15.
Okay, so with 15 successes, you smash the glass over Marcos's head, and he crumples down.
You splashed over Reese's head, right?
No, I said what I said.
Oh, shit. Okay.
With 15 successes well earned, Miles, you strike at Marcos, delivering an incapacitating blow.
I drop what I was holding.
John gives you this nod. Everything you do, full speed ahead and to my benefit. Thank you again. And he rests a hand on Marcos, and with a mere touch, Marcos's body begins to wither and waste away, probably just about to where it would be right now, were you to gaze upon his corpse. Mr. Reese gives you a nod. There you have it. Look how powerful you are.
Just aghast at how fast things are moving. I feel like at this point in time, I picked up a lamp or whatever and tried to hit him with it again.
You smash the lamp against John Reese, and Hardestad dusts the chunks of lamp off of himself. There it is, my boy. Consequences aren't for you. They're for the people around you, and so long as you make friends, there will be people to suffer in your stead. Good that you are so charming, yes?
This is not how any of it is supposed to go.
Well, I don't know if that's exactly true, Upton says. You don't have plans. You're an opportunist. Why should the people that fall in your wake matter at all? Your plan is to be great, to be successful, to be recognized. The ashes of the people around you, those don't matter. Why pretend?
Miles grimaces at the appearance of Rollins.
Don't you call me Rollins, boy. I'm Miles now. You made that. I'm just what you really look like. Marcos sits up. The corpse is so wet and withered that it doesn't really seem like it should be able to move, and still he sits up. Miles, did my death ever matter at all?
Of course.
Then why did nothing come of it? Why did you side with Reese? Over and over, giving him every opportunity to have what he wants so long as you get what you want, but no justice for me.
Shit. Trying. The best that I can out here.
I don't believe you.
No one ever does.
Upton shakes his head. Of course they do. They believe you every time. Every time you are given the benefit of the doubt because of how hard you are working. Don't they? You attended a Bruhal rave, a known Diablerist, and convinced them that they should side with you in order to avoid the wrath of, well, Diablerists. It's very silly when you think of it. But unlike them, unlike those filthy Sabbat, at least you're trying.
As I'm looking out for them, I'm trying to protect them.
Protection? Marcos looks at you, cross and frustrated. You mean like from Reese?
I couldn't do anything to stop Reese.
You had all the power. The entire reason everyone's been so afraid of your Coterie is because you're the ones with all the power. And it's like you can do anything. Anything. But help the people that matter.
We've been... God damn it. Everything we've done, we've tried to do to protect the people that matter. I can't fight everyone.
Miles, this is not like you. A woman speaks in Upton's place. You recognize her immediately. Arabella Rowlands. And as she addresses you, there's this neon green, sickly spark to her aura. Miles, you're not going to get to where you need to be by apologizing for the past. The past is come and gone. It's behind you. All you can do is move forward, take the power that you need, and win. Why are you trying to travel to heaven for some salvation and enlightenment? That's dumb, Miles. That's not what you do. You need power. You need it now, and you need it more than ever. And you've known all along that I can give you those things. Give me one good reason to say no.
The cost.
What is the cost, Miles? Your soul? You Diabler's twat? You don't have one of those. We're past that.
Not my soul.
Then what?
It'll be too much for those around me.
Don't tell them.
They will inevitably find out that's just how this works.
And then they'll forgive you. That's just how this works.
I've done one thing too far.
Miles, you've done like 10 things too far. Come on.
The choices for easy power have almost pushed everyone else away.
You're absolutely right, Miles. Almost.
I don't get to keep doing that. And sometimes I have to make the harder decision.
I would love to know what you think is the harder decision. Because, well, let's be honest, you're not going to pass these tests. But you don't need to pass these tests. You just need the power to win. And, buddy, I've got that.
I need to trust the people around me. My misstep before was not doing that.
They'll trust you if you have the power of a Methuselah.
No, they will wait.
What do you mean they will wait? Wait for what?
They will wait till the problem is done and then they will leave.
It's the end of the fucking world, Miles. There's nowhere for them to go.
Well, I don't think it's the end of the world.
Take the power. Have it.
I refuse.
Fine. Give it back then. No fucking hollow words. Give back the power you stole from Upton Rollins if power isn't what you need. I'm not letting you leave this room until you come with me or you give it up.
I've paid the prices for that.
You haven't paid shit, Miles. That's kind of what I like about you.
I am going to go forward.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. As soon as you turn the soul over. Would you think that this is a thing where you just say that you've learned your lesson and Zach Morris gets a pass? Prove it. Spit him out.
Fine. How do I do that?
Which one are you doing?
I will return Upton to you.
Are you insane? Take the power.
I know, Arabella, that's the road and path you've gone.
That's the road you've gone.
The road I went...
Come on, you know we're so much alike. Hell, if you knew about my plot to overthrow Upton, you would have fucking been there with me. You said that.
Yes.
Come with me. Let's do this. You still got a chance to take everything you deserve. It's already weird enough that you're climbing the ladder like Neil.
It was the solution.
How desperate did you have to get what you want? There's so many better ways to do it, Miles.
I don't know any of them.
I do.
So I put the trust in the people around me.
I'm around you. You made that happen.
I'm almost sure that you're a figment.
Then what do you have to lose? If none of this is real and I'm just a figment of your mind, have some fucking fun. And then return to your own life. But that's not how it works, and I think you know that. I think you know that the power that I have for you is real. The power to change your generation at a whim.
And the cost isn't just my soul.
Actually, I'm not charging you anything. Just come with me.
I'm going to move forward. I am not taking any more deals.
Miles, wait, Marco says. A shadow looms over him for a moment. And you can feel Neil's obsession. It wasn't Reese that killed me. Remember?
I haven't forgotten. And there will be a time and a place for that. And an explanation.
Marcos gets up. He puts his hand on your shoulder. And he says, well, then you've made it to the easy part. Let's go. And your corpse of a spirit guide opens the door to the office, takes your hand, and guides you out.
Path of Night is a Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the world of darkness. Britta Ashcroft the Toreador was played by Rebecca Steigelfest. Johnny Saxon the Bruja was played by Garrett Gabbey. Miles Davenport the Venture was played by Tim Davis. Neil Foster the Malkavian was played by Rob Muirhead. Wynn Cabot the Gangrel was played by Erika Webb. Your storyteller was Lex Lopez. Recording by Rebecca Steigelfest. This episode edited by Rob Muirhead. The music used in this episode was composed for Path of Night by Brian Metolious. Find him online at brianmetolious.com. Path of Night uses the 20th anniversary edition of Vampire the Masquerade with a few limited house rules. Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness are owned by Paradox Interactive. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. We can be found on YouTube at youtube.com/@pathofnight. You can help support the show on coffee.com/pathofnight. Find us on twitter.com/pathofnightpod, on facebook.com/pathofnightpodcasts, or email us at pathofnightpodcasts@gmail.com. See you next time, kindred.
I need time out because Arabella's making too good of
Can I give a suggestion?
Take that deal.
Arabella's like, just do it. It's like,
What happens
wrong.
if you take a demon deal in heaven?
If I take your deal, can we still bang?
She is controlling the narrative right now. Start saying, I don't owe you an explanation for the choices I make. I'm not doing it. Fuck off.
It's fine. I'm just ready. I'm ready to engage it. It's just like
Tim just needed a moment, I think.
This ritual backfires on Neil completely.
Just Miles rises with dark thaumaturgy.
I've become more powerful, Neil.
you strike me down with your incense and your trinkets, and I come back
your
more
cow.
powerful.
I got insight, Neil. Isn't that what you wanted?
You know, to be fair, it would be really funny if you're like, can you fix what the dragon did to me?
She already offered.
Well then, fuck heaven, let's go. That sounds much easier and more expeditious.
And I have people to protect.
God, I'm such a bastard. I want to take the deal.
It's important for Tim to not feel alone.
Look, that's the whole point. It's so much easier to just take the deal.
You know what? I'm on board. Fucking go that way.
Till he's not on board.
Till Neil's body starts till Miles's body starts glowing green.
Look, I get a really cool sword with one of those paths. I'm just saying.
You have.
You have a cool sword.
No, I can make it cooler. I can quite literally make it more powerful.
Not if you never
I
wake
already
up
said
from
I would
this,
help
man.
you do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.